Thank you all for your patience. Good afternoon. I am Kim Schraff, coordinator of the Parkmont Poetry Festival since 2007, and I am thrilled to welcome you to our 41st annual reading and reception. So today we celebrate the penultimate day of National Poetry Week. No, month. National Independent Bookstore Day. If you need some local recs, come and ask me later, I have a few. We celebrate a day of intermittent sun sandwiched in between a weekend of steady rain. And we celebrate 40 fearless, fervent young poets in grades 6 through 12 from DC's private, public, and charter school community. Here's how our afternoon will go. I'll say a few much-deserved thank yous to the members of the Poetry Village that has fueled our event once again. Each of the 40 winning poems will be heard in the order that they appear in your booklet, mostly by the poet themselves, sometimes by a proxy reader, 2 by video, and 1 by audio recording. Then our finalist judge, Patrick Washington, will address the winners, and we will all repair all that can to the fellowship hall downstairs for some refreshments and, well, fellowship. We hope to continue the conversation that gets started up here when poet answers poet, ricochets to poet, gets a response from poet. Today is evidence of community in action. Our friends and neighbors here at Zion Baptist Church have shared their space with us since 2017. First downstairs in Fellowship Hall, then post-pandemic in this stately sanctuary where poetry rings out with much import. The whole team here at Zion Baptist is exceptional. But I have to shout out Debbie Moon, our longtime champion, and communications director Shantae McQueen. She's up there at the AV motherboard streaming us live today. We partner every year with significant DC poets to take on the often joyous, sometimes excruciating task of culling 350 entries down to 40. We're not one of those first place, second best, runner-up kinds of festivals. We celebrate the wide-ranging excellences of our young writers, and we distinguish 20 middle school voices and 20 upper school voices. This year, we were graced with the expertise of Court Bledsoe and Susan Scheid as our preliminary judges, and of course, Patrick Washington as the final word. We are so grateful to them all. Many dozens and dozens of indefatigable teachers were instrumental in bringing submissions to us this year. I would like to acknowledge those whose winning writers we'll be hearing today. In no particular order: Alan Kellogg, John Chicello, Eileen Hughes, Eduardo Martinez Leyva, Marina Rubin, Nancy Schwab, Leslie Young, Joe Korth, Lola Adiason, Willa Reinhard, Chris Thompson, Elizabeth Sislin, Neoli Gadudis, Lauren Lewis, Kyle Money, Lindsay Laster, Aisha Sidibe, Joe Ross, Ariana Goodman, Becky Farnham, Donna Denizet, Laura Williams, and Lindsay Goodman. Nobody works harder than you do. Volunteers are making every wheel turn today, not only those from Zion Baptist, but from all corners of the Parkmont community. Parents alongside staff, students alongside board members. They checked you in, they folded your t-shirt, They mixed up your punch, and they'll be washing the dishes when you leave. Words fail me. Maybe one of you could write a poem about it. Our festival was started in 1982 by Parkmont's head of school, Ron McLean, and longtime board member and poetry zealot, Judy Lentz. They are why we are here 41 years out. We remember Judy's extraordinary life and spirit in the booklets today. And if you knew her, loved her, how could you not, or want to know more about her, we'll have a memorial flyer at our Parkmont table at the reception downstairs with more photos and more memories. I just have to say that in the 30 years I worked with her, there wasn't a poetry victory that she didn't celebrate with me, and there wasn't a disaster that she did not counsel me through. I will miss her hand on my back. But don't worry, Judy's in the room. She's got the virtual booklet, and she is following along and listening. My final thanks and introduction today is our MC for the celebration that follows, Sharon Strange. But MC does not come close to naming Sharon's contributions to our festival. I don't want you to think she's here to warm up the crowd. Well, just wait. You'll see. I do want to say that since my early days at Parkmont, when she and I taught together for, well, many, many years together at Parkmont, I viewed it as a measure of the caliber of the school and the bar for excellence that a poet of her note and gifts was on staff with me. Joining us today from Spelman College in Atlanta, where she teaches poetry and mentors rising poets alongside a vibrant creative career, is Sharon Strange.
Thank you, Kim. It's always wonderful to be introduced by Kim. I wish I had those same verbal gifts, but mine usually end up in writing. Mine usually end up on the page. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for being here. I have to keep my comments necessarily brief, but I want to begin by, again, lifting up the name of Judy Lentz. Time will not permit me to say how much I valued her friendship and her collaboration, and it was always a joy to come to the festival every year knowing that I would get to see Judy. So a little literary libation I want to pour by reciting this brief poem by Lucille Clifton. Lucille Clifton, who was one of the early judges of the Parkmont Poetry Festival at Judy's invitation. So Kim is telling me she was the very first. And if you all know anything about Lucille Clifton, you know what a special thing that was. So this poem by Lucille Clifton, who was a former poet laureate of Maryland, is called Blessing the Boats. May the tide that is entering even now, the lip of our understanding, carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever, and may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. Ashe. So today, I just want to say by introduction of the poets, happy National Poetry Month. And I want to begin by calling out the names of some poets born in the month of April. Some passed on, many still with us. Maya Angelou, Dawn Lundy Martin, William Shakespeare and William Wordsworth, Charles Baudelaire, Toy Darracott, Jericho Brown, Tracy K. Smith, Seamus Heaney, Louise Gluck, Marilyn Nelson, Damaris Hill, Natasha Trethewey, and today, Marvin K. White, Maria Damon, their birthdays. And yesterday was Carolyn Forche's birthday. Carolyn Forche, who was for some time a neighbor of Judy Lentz. So it's wonderful, there are all these poetry connections. One of my favorite poems is by one of my favorite poets, Yusef Komanyaka, and today is his birthday. So it's a poem about childhood and therefore about wonder. I just want to recite a few passages from that poem, which is titled Venus's Flytraps. It begins, I am 5, wading out into deep sunny grass, unmindful of snakes and yellow jackets, out to the yellow flowers quivering in sluggish heat. The speaker goes on to say, I also know bees can't live without flowers. I wonder why Daddy calls Mama honey. All the bees in the world live in little white houses, except the ones in these flowers, all sticky and sweet inside. I wonder what death tastes like. Sometimes I toss the butterflies back into the air. I wish I knew why the music in my head makes me scared. Before the poem takes its final turn, the speaker declares, but I know things I don't suppose to know. I could start walking and never stop. These yellow flowers go on forever, almost to Detroit, almost to the sea. So those are some excerpts from the poem. I invite you to read the entire poem. But I want to stop there because I think it's just a fitting way to say welcome to our young winning poets today. May your sense of wonder, your curiosity and imagination, and your poems go on forever, even beyond Detroit, even beyond the sea. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for your work, which we are now going to hear, the reason we're all gathered here. Right? So I am going to introduce the poets almost in order that they appear in the booklet. Right? And so I will call them up to the mic, and you may follow along reading their poems in the booklet if you like, or you may just want to close your eyes and absorb their words. So our first reader is Jasper Freeling Hyson, who will read the poem Still With Me. Jasper is a 6th grader at Sidwell Friends School. Welcome, Jasper.
Okay. This poem is dedicated to my great-grandmother, Halmoni Kyung Nam Choi. Still with me. Wrinkled like Yoda, warm like her broth, soft like the blankets she knitted long ago. She holds me on one thigh. She breathes out. The minty aroma dances in the air. Her smooth hair brushes up against me, silver like pearls. I close my eyes. I'm still with her.
Thank you, Jasper, for that lovely tribute. I want to say you had me with Yoda. You know, I'm a Yoda fan and a Grogu fan. Our next winning poet is Ali Parakini, a 7th grader at Edmund Burke School. Ali will read Stick Around.
I loved lemon drops and yellow labs, the smell of rain and brand new books. I loved to people watch on buses and to smile at strangers because my mother said it would make their day. I wanted to make people happy. When I think of happiness, I think of my sister's burnt caramel-colored hair that falls into ringlets on her shoulders that gently bounce when she laughs. I think of my mother's hazel green eyes that sparkle when she's proud of me. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling in your chest that spreads down to your fingertips that tells you to stick around for another one of those rainstorms just to smell the rain after it's passed.
Thank you so much, Ali. I can appreciate that poem after yesterday when I arrived in town to all the rain. And I love the details, the lovely details that I can see your mother's eyes. And I also want to say I like smiling at strangers too, and smiling back at strangers who smile at me. Our next winning poet, Kenechi Emuowa, is a 9th grader at St. Albans School. We have a video of the poet reading, so this will be our treat.
Hi guys, my name is Kenechi Emuowa, and I go to St. Albans High School in DC. The poem I'll be reciting for you today is Africa Speaks. And so without further ado, Africa Speaks by Kenechi Emuowa. The wounds you have inflicted on me are still hurting. My people, my goods, my life, all stolen. Look how my people lived so vibrant, with joy and never with complaint. The gold, the ore, and even my language, gone, so unexpectedly it was hard to gauge. The extent to which this would continue, the fire in my heart was subdued, extinguished, without thought of the effects. No more jumping, no more dancing. What remained were flecks of a society once very successful. How could one be so cruel? You have destroyed me as you progressed, came into my land and treated me as less. You reduced me to an animal, an ape, a species with no reason at all. Forced your Western ideas and religion on me, all to gain land and riches and be wealthy. Before, you left me with absolutely zero, but now you say it was a while ago. You pay slave owners, but not the slaves, and give little just to save face. You forget what you did, and how much we had to bleed. We took our own lives so that we might not be led into demise. A world where we would have no will, no freedom, or platform to show our skill. Abilities that were hidden because of this narrative that we were dirty, not worthy enough to live. Can you ever be forgiven? Do you even deserve to be forgiven for the atrocities you committed against us? The time you stole ruined a world so precious, full of life, light, and community, replaced with hatred, distrust, and animosity. My answer is yes. for humans are not without failure and faults. Lord, forgive them, for what they do, they know not. But am I do nothing for the crimes committed against my children? The diamonds on that crown are not yours, the rubies, the emeralds, and the bronze. They are mine, and in my museum should they shine. Is it wrong of me to ask? Is it a hard task to give back stolen property, stolen history, and money? I think not.
I want to thank Kenichi for that important and timely, perennially timely poem. I think it speaks to a lot of the discourse that is happening in our society that maybe makes people uncomfortable, but it needs to be heard and it needs to be reckoned with. So a very thoughtful poem, I think that expresses it quite well. All right, before we hear the next poet, I'd like to invite winning poets who may have arrived after we started to please come down front to the seats that are reserved for you. Our next winning poem is by Hector Reyes, who is in 12th grade at Gonzaga College High School. Welcome, Hector, to read Ode to Immigrants.
Ode to immigrants, tired of suffering, wanting a new lifestyle, brave enough to break the laws, courageous enough to take that risk, fearless of the consequences, walking through the desert, swimming through bodies of water, praying they won't be caught, all for an opportunity for change. Coming to a place you would never imagine being, attempting to create a better future for your descendants, leaving home at the risk of never finding home again, having the courage to close a door, to open a new one. Some welcome you, others want you out. Following the wise words of Emma Lazarus, we should all lift our lamps beside the golden door.
Thank you, Hector. I appreciate odes because they are the type of celebratory poems that can encompass everything, and particularly encompass the things that we don't often think about. Sometimes they're small things, like all those wonderful odes to common objects by Pablo Neruda, and other times they are poems that deal with something immense and something capacious. So thank you for that poem. Our next winning poem, There's a Robin in Our Garden, is by Beth Churchwood, a 9th grader at the British International School of Washington. Welcome, Beth.
This poem is for my great-granddad Ted. There's a robin in our garden, amongst the yellow blooms. He still cheeps along with the whispering waves. Spring is on the loom. The tea is on the kettle. There's a battered box of tools, a freshly ironed suit and tie, waiting in your room. Though you may not be here, even though we know you've gone, our love will never stop, our hearts always full. We see you watching down on us, smile as we thrive, joining in with our laughter, following our lives. A proudly presented box of medals, photos adorn the wall. A book full of cherished memories is being written as we celebrate you. There's a robin in our garden, always gentle and smart. He doesn't perch too far. He's here,
deep in our hearts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I love the musicality of the poem, and I just love little phrases and alliteration. And I think "spring is on the loom" is going to stick with me now. I just like that. And I also kind of echoed "spring is on the lamb" in my head when I heard that too. So anyway, thank you for such a lovely poem. Our next winning poem is by Rowan Magnell, an 8th grader at Georgetown Day School. Welcome, Rowan.
To the bird I met on a cold winter's morning. I saw a hawk perched on a fence among the hoarfrost-dusted grass and branches of the morning yard. It stared, I curious. A ruffling wind, the wish to fly, those feathers red, that baleful eye. You shifted on your perch, and I moved reciprocally. We stayed a moment, glancing swift at one each other, strange and new. You shifted soft-lined wings and flew. I watched you through the clouds. You leap and fly with yellow eyes, with fear and hunger curdling slow. To hunt, to kill and eat you go, past city-risen walls. Stream-winding mountains, hills that rise in the frozen, glistering haze. The wind shifts wheeling, a surmise that draws you past my gaze. Where are you now? I do not know. The trails of the wind and snow you follow are unknown to me, but still I search the sky. You may be wheeling high above the forests green or red or bare, or yet the mountains you may love, the lichened stones and frigid air. I'm not content to leave you be, your predatory mystery. I strive to find your majesty. I remain searching still. I saw a hawk perched on a fence among the hoarfrost-dusted grass and branches of the morning yard. I haven't seen it since.
Thank you for that wonderful poem, Rowan. And I have to say, there's a hawk in my neighborhood that I watch religiously. I take out the binoculars, and he happens, or she happens to perch on this tree across the way, and I'm all up in those branches looking for that hawk every day. So thank you for that poem. And also just sort of puts me in mind of Robert Frost. Such a beautifully crafted poem. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to skip the order a little bit. For those of you who are following along in the booklet, please turn to page 34, where you will find the winning poem by Jalen Hollins, a grade 7 student at Charles Hart Middle School. Welcome, Jalen.
I used to do weird things. I do be loud sometimes. I be fragmented, some smashing things, so I stopped doing what I did. It was in a laughing, loving myself, and when I was really kind to other people. That it was fun being myself, and I must be myself again.
Thank you, Jalen. I have to say, all right, so like you all, except for the writers, I'm seeing these poems for the first time when the poets come up to read them. So I just got a glimpse at the title. And so I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be an interesting little, playful poem. And it's quirky and it's playful. And then I love it, when you get to the end and it just get that gravitas, So what a little marvelous poem. Thank you, Jalen. Okay, see, I'm going to find my place again. After the hawk comes the bus stop. All right, so our next winning poem is by Jimena Iraeta, a 9th grader at Parkmont School.
The bus stop. I miss my bus today. I can't help but sob, can't help realizing this isn't what's going on. Buses can be people important in your life, thinking you might just know everything when that's just a lie. Bus stops are lifetimes, errors and people along the way. Bus stops are different, each time deciding to leave or stay. And there's you and me having to face a reality. A bus can't stay for long if thinking logically. Always needing to catch up in order not to lose it. Hands down, now it's too late. You tried, but you couldn't do it. I missed my bus today. But that's okay. I've fairly learned that buses don't have to stay anyway.
Thank you, Jimena. Again, you know, these titles are really interesting, and then they take us into the poem, and then you get into these layers of metaphor and symbolism, and it's just delightful. So as someone who spends lots of time at bus stops, because I'm a non-driver, I can certainly appreciate what you've done with that device in your poem. So thank you. All right, our next winning poet is Kate McNicholas, a 9th grader at the Field School. Please welcome Kate.
In 2023, kids still die, black and white. The kids are coughing, hooked to ventilators. The old and rich who feed them lies stay safe and live on a while, still eating blood and gold. They look the other way. Kids die at the hooves of the police, being crushed under their boots. The kids can't breathe. The news anchors who shouldn't be taken seriously say that we are divided, while dividing us even more, because they know if we stay divided, we can never rise up. We can never finally lift the boot off our necks. The kids will die trying to save the burning Amazon, while kids will die at the warehouses of the same name, organizing workers. The Louis and Maries are now the Elons and Jeffs. The kids grab their forks and knives. All the kids will die. The kids who are trapped in the wrong bodies, the kids who are blamed for something they weren't ever a part of, the kids who are praised and worshipped but now forgotten, the kids who are only allowed to have a roof over their heads for a few more months. The kids whose only crime is the color of their skin. They still beat the kids who die, even if they're in their own homes, even when they're protesting the very system doing the beatings. They still beat them with bullets and laws. For a whole summer we marched for the kids who die. We screamed the names of the kids who die. The screams and prayers of these kids ring throughout our history. Today is history. They called us terrorists while they fought back against the peaceful and pacifists with clubs and pepper spray, dogs and rubber bullets. The blood of kids who die fuels the people. The old and rich know this. They lie about the kids who die. They don't want the people to see. They quickly bury the kids in mass graves. They lock up the kids by the millions. They lock up the kids who are weak and ill. They lock up their hope, their future, their dreams. They don't want us to know that kids have been dying for centuries. The people who lick the boot of the old and rich don't want to feel guilty for letting the kids die. Artists paint the kids who die with brushes and words, pens and paper on the walls of boarded-up shops. Kids are denied the right to their bodies, being caged for the crime of autonomy, the rights to feel comfortable in their own bodies, to feel comfortable in this society. Change is slow. We have a holiday celebrating an end of evil that is forever a scar on the history of the nation, while the rich and old debate if that history should ever be taught. The people fight back against the old and rich, suffocating their right to a voice, while law to protect that right is shot down, like the kids who die. But the day will come. Maybe it'll take another 100 years, but it's coming. The marching feet of the masses, the people will be as one.
The colors of the people will emerge together, a rainbow of hope. One day, our ark will come. The song of the people will ring throughout the land. It will be heard for miles and miles. The song of the kids who die. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that poem. Again, a serious poem, a sobering poem, a necessary poem. And again, it's nice to invoke the name of another important poet, Langston Hughes, who again had such a breadth in his poetry as well, from light to heavy. So again, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And yes, the arc of the moral universe is going where you say it's going. I believe it. Our next winning poet is Amina Bradford, who's an 8th grader at Sheridan School. Please welcome Amina. Oh, okay. I forgot. Well, welcome her anyway.
Hi, my name is Amina Bradford and I go to Sheridan School. This is my poem, The Ways in Which We Resist. When I think of my people, I think of resistance. Resistance is when Claudette Colvin didn't give up her seat 9 months before Rosa Parks got arrested for doing the same thing. It didn't seem to be planned. She says, whenever people ask me, why didn't you give up when the bus driver asked you? I say it felt as though Harriet Tubman's hands were pushing me down on one shoulder, and Sojourner Truth's hands were pushing me down on the other shoulder. Resistance is when the Black Panther Party, inspired by the need for self-defense, refused to lay down their arms. Resistance is when, from plantation to plantation, enslaved men, women, and children could use spirituals to communicate. Resistance is when my grandmother decided that wearing her hair in a slick, straight bun the military enforced was whitewashing her and her culture, so she left and she made her afro big and loud, and that made her feel as if she made her ancestors proud. When I think of my people, I think of resistance, and I think of all the people who had to resist. I think of the Polish freedom fighter, Stanislaw, who smuggled weapons against the Nazis at 23 years old. I think of the pitifully armed Jewish men and women who were able to hold off German attacks for nearly a month in Warsaw. I think of Malala, who continued to try to get an education even after her diary was published and the Taliban set a bounty on her. Sometimes resistance is loud and deafening. Sometimes resistance is still and quiet. Sometimes resistance leaves you blinded by smoke and tears. But where would we be if we didn't resist for a better world?
All right. I could appreciate Amina's poem quite well, especially following Kate's poem. All right. So it's wonderful to hear our young poets with their rallying calls for justice and resistance, quiet resistance or loud resistance. All right, we're going to again hop over to a different page. Our next poem will be read by Abby Foster, a 6th grader at Sidwell Friends School. You can find Abby's poem on page 46. Please welcome Abby.
It creeps up on you like a spider climbing up your arm. Hours pass and it's still there. You still feel that ache of envy in your chest. It only takes a few seconds. You see what you want and can't have right in front of you. You can't feel content until it's gone, which means getting what you seek, and you don't. I'm caught up in this mess, but what I can see is what I want to be, not who I am.
Thank you, Abby. I think a lot of us can identify with that. I heard some affirming murmurs in the crowd. So thank you for that, for sharing that. Our next winning poem is by Whit Coburn. Sorry, I was trying to say the name while flipping pages. I knew it started with a W. Sorry, Whit. Our next winning poet, Whit Coburn, is a 12th grader at St. Albans School. Unfortunately, Whit is not able to be here to read his poem, so Kim Schraff will read it.
If there's anyone from St. Albans who would like to honor Whit, I'd happily pass the baton to you. It's a terrific poem, but I'm very happy to read it for him. Whit's poem is The Great Wave Off Kanagawa. The hull pitching, dipping, plowing abruptly through the whitewash, the midnight blue. Like a fluid mountain range spewing salty spray, raising higher every interval. On the horizon, two mountains, one so still, so eternal, the other looming our inevitable demise. The wall of water, of darkness, inching nearer and nearer with each consecutive stroke. The everlastingness of Fuji could never save us now. The wall persisted, continuing to climb into the heavens, the sky turning from cerulean to the darkness of night, of death. It had arrived. Was it death? Was it the mountain? Surely both. The bow climbed and climbed towards the stars, now vertical, a mighty crash of darkness, then white light. That moment, our bodies plunged deep, but our souls ascended skyward. Peace.
Thank you, Kim, for reading Whit's wonderful poem. I love the vividness of that poem. I was seeing it all in my mind's eye, which is what I'm always trying to tell my students. Imagery is something we can see in our mind's eye. And maybe it's also because I love to watch surfers and I love to watch waves, and I love to imagine the thrill of riding those waves. In any case, thank you, Whit. Our next winning poet is Simra Javed, an 11th grader at Sidwell Friends School. Please welcome Simra.
Sting. You know that feeling that starts deep within your stomach and bubbles up through your gut?
I want to be sure they hear every word. I want you to start again. Let's just kick this thing out of the way. Awesome. Okay, that should be just right.
Sting. You know that feeling that starts deep within your stomach and bubbles up through your gut, and it feels like something is stuck, but not butterflies, more like wasps that sting and strike until you clutch your side and close your eyes and reach through your mind to understand the source of your unbridled concern. You choke and cough and spit, desperate to relieve yourself of the incessant pain. You cup your hands and catch the fluttering creature. It looks delicate and dainty, beautiful in a fragile sort of way. But when you hold it up to the light, the truth is exposed. An ugly thrashing bug, vicious in its appearance and action. You freeze, unsure what to do, with a grotesque insect before you. Instinct takes over, and without a second thought, you shove the hideous wasp between your lips, feeling it sting all sides of your mouth. You almost can't bear to swallow it. You want to scream and cry and give this undesirable organism to someone else, but you don't. Instead, you steel your nerves and squeeze your eyes shut and gulp, forcing the wasp back to your stomach.
Okay, thank you for that as well. Again, you know, that imagery that is so visceral. And I can imagine having had an encounter with a wasp earlier this fall, sort of, and remembering my brother being stung by a wasp as a kid. And so I will say thank you for the poetic gifts that bring back those visceral memories. Again, sort of like Whit's poem, right? Sort of that sense of, you know, both the negative and the positive, right? Both the awe and wonder of it, and also the, I'll say fear, maybe. Yeah, both the fear and the anxiety of it. Okay, we'll turn to another poem now. And first I want to know, is Crystal here? We're not quite sure whether Crystal has arrived. Please come down front. And I would also invite any poets who have recently arrived, winning poets, we have reserved seats for you down front, so please feel free to move down front. All right, so our next winning poem is by Crystal Rogers, who is an 8th grader at Charles Hart Middle School. People Pleaser, Me Praiser is the title of Crystal's winning poem.
I speak this poem of curfew and prophets, in praise of I, the smoke leaving the chimney. I praise my sunny skin, my sharp-eyed vision, the breeze of my hair above my scalp. I praise my tall triumph, no more the great language I speak. Laughter covers the pining trees as I parachute through life's obstacles. But I catch a glimpse of unimportance, vacuums full of worry. Corruption is a candle. There is more uneasy than calm in life. Between the cuts, I squint knowledge. We are ours and none to share. It is the well-known I. I hear whistles of fragments, and I am who I trust.
Thank you, Crystal. What I appreciate about that poem is that, like, practically every line in that poem surprised me. And I love that about poetry, that sort of takes you on a journey. And also that creates a kind of, its own kind of analogic within this logic of the poem. So I'm quite pleased by that poem, People Pleaser, Me Praiser. Thanks again, Crystal, and congratulations. Our next winning poet, Noah Fawcett, is an 8th grader at Sheridan School. And unfortunately, Noah could not be here today. But Amin Bakare from Parkmont School will read the poem.
Eyes. Staring at the bridge of my mother's nose, I could have sworn her eyes were green, like the cold spring pond she married into. but the eyes staring back at me are brown, eyes pinching the skin on my skull like my brother when he got tired of my tendency to turn to violence when things didn't go my way. Because there are rules and order and routines, and I'm scared of change. My mother says I'm quirky because that is the word she uses when she doesn't want to admit her child is autistic, and it is genetic. My mother, with brown eyes like the wood of a cross, used to teach her to teach me that deviation from the norm is a sin. I'm sorry that I act wrong, because though I try to love you, you cannot see me. And I don't know if your mind is like mine or if I got it from Dad, but Mom, you said you would love me if I was quirky. So why not if I'm autistic? Why is it taboo my brain works different? I'm sorry it's too much to look into your iris. I could have sworn your eyes were green, because I cannot love a mother with brown eyes, staring at the bridge of my nose, wondering how mine turned out blue.
Thank you, Amin, for reading Noah's poem so well. Again, it's a touching poem. It's a thought-provoking poem. It's a poem of connection as well. So I appreciate having this poem among the group of winning poems, and a poem that I can turn to again later and read it and savor it. Our next winning poet is Neve. I'm so sorry, and I practiced it. I'm going to get it right. Neve Avazian, an 8th grader at Murray School. And again, forgive me for the fumbling of your name, but what really matters is you have written this wonderful poem, Metamorphosis, that we'll now get to hear. Welcome, Neve.
Metamorphosis. The metamorphoses of early autumn and late spring are one and the same. The kiss of the frigid breeze blessing you, the crisp water slithering down the stream, the bright jeweled moss with spores and seeds grown from slim stems, infused, rooted into the rocks yet so easy to remove, soft as silk, luxuriant, thick like nature's pillow. The changes remind me of the beautiful days to come and the ones that have come to pass. The sound of rustling leaves, in autumn soon to change color and fall, in spring only just emerged, scatter across the forested hills. The arriving and leaving birds, wrens, swallows, flippantly sing without worry and fill the air with piercing and cheerful melodies which slip through the rustling branches and emerald leaves, through the slithering stream and soft moss, to my listening ears.
Thank you, Neve. Neve Ivazian. I just wanted to get it right. I love that poem because I love the subject matter, but I also love the way you brought the poem. It was out there, and you brought it to us, right to our ears with that last line. Our next winning poet, Maya Rubin, is a 6th grader at Sidwell Friends School. Maya's winning poem is titled Sweet World.
Our world is sugar-coated. We see screaming neons, but can we wear green-lensed glasses and let the sweet world turn simple? Can we climb the low-branched apple tree in the center of a grassy, stone-studded meadow, then pick its fruit, not making them into candy apples? Can you see life's crooked windows, the mossy wooden floor, jammed door, and not see sugar? So we form a community, not seeking prepackaged waffle fry cravers or dewy grass haters, because we don't chew the cookies with dandelion-shaped frosting. We clip dandelion stems with our dirty fingernails and grind the sour petals to a pulp between our back teeth. We don't add sugar. We drag our fingertips against horses' rough manes, pet their noses buzzing with mosquitoes. We don't slice them open and sprinkle sugar on their bloody, broken bodies, because we don't sugarcoat life.
Thank you, Maya. Man, that's such a good poem. And the funny thing is, I was reading through some just journal notes and exercises, and I've had written one morning about how we are primed to taste everything with sugar and how the food industry has normalized sugar in everything. And so it's just interesting. I was just reading that yesterday, and then here comes this poem. It's like, And then another thing I just want to say, it's interesting because when the poem started out, I was thinking it was going somewhere else, and then where you brought it back around, it's like, that's really interesting and thought-provoking, and it makes me want to, to suggest that you read a poem by the poet Thalius Moss called Death of the Sweet World. But in any case, thank you for your marvelous poem, Maya. Our next winning poet, Kira Neufeld, is an sixth grader. I'm promoting you, Kira. Is a sixth grader at Washington Latin PCS Cooper campus. Did I get that right? That's a mouthful. All right. So please welcome Kira, whose winning poem is titled Memories.
I don't remember much of you, just the corner of your smile, the light in your eyes as bright as stars, and how your house smelled of flowers as sweet as spring. Every time I close my eyes, imagine your laugh, your heavy accent, I try to piece everything together, try to imagine you. I'm always so close to see you. It all fades to a color as dark as shadows. I wish I could remember memories and laugh about how I was part of it. But mostly, I feel the lump in my throat, the throbbing of my ears, and then boom, that echoes in my head. As I start to feel like I'm falling, and there's no one there to catch me, but I know you would if you were alive. When my sadness has been reduced to tears, and on a particularly good day, I sit on my bed and talk to you, hoping my words reach all the way to heaven.
Thank you, Kira, for sharing that very poignant poem. It makes me think again of the other poems that we've been hearing today that are tributes, that are elegiac poems. So thank you for that. Our next winning poet is Amy Tesfaye, a seventh grader at Parkmont School. Please welcome Amy.
I was raised by music, the feet tapping, hand clapping, finger snapping, toe trapping, rhythm and blues kind of music. I was raised by a finger pointing, never ever sharing, always keeping something hidden, acting like she isn't caring, kind of older sister. I was raised by a protective, hearing is selective, has been independent her whole life. If you don't listen to her, she will bring you strife. If you don't get down here right now, I was always saying I'm in trouble even when I don't know how, kind of mother. I was raised by a healthy, wants me in life to be wealthy, takes me ice skating. If I were hurt, he would be by my side aiding, kind of father. I was raised by music and family.
Okay, Amy, great poem. Thank you. Well done. I try to talk about rhyme, but the kind of rhyme that feels so organic to the poem, it doesn't overly announce itself, and I think that's a great device that you've used in this poem. And also just a wonderful tribute to your family as well. Our next winning poet is Isabel Avedon, a 10th grader at Georgetown Day School. And I love this title, so let's hear the poem. Welcome, Isabel.
In which I am visited by angels who speak to me of death. At orange dawning, when the world is all of a hush, the angels come and the angels sit by my bed, trying so hard to be quiet. But even in my most secret dreams, I hear their footsteps, and they sound like the stars singing, and I am comforted. One day they will bury me in the garden, and I am comforted. They will drown me in the bath, and when they softly push me down with their big, big wings, I will be as peaceful as the pie slice of nothing between a tiger's whisker and the moon. The angels tell me that I will rot, but not to be afraid because I am the universe's very own baby, and the spring is always coming. Under the ground, the grass has already begun to stir. And in the dark time when the day and I are sleeping, the angels come and whisper to us so we don't get too lonely. In our untongued silence, they touch our hair and tell that dying is like a warm pool. The girl you met in a hotel when you were 7, holding onto your hand and leading you on bare feet down a long, long hallway with a light at the end. And you are carried upstairs, but in the next room, the grown-ups are still laughing, and you can hear the clink of glasses. It's like this, say the angels. When you do fall, you fall gently. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Oh, and I think that is such a marvelous poem. My gosh, I'm going to read it again and share it with my students as well. And I said I like that title. Even without hearing the poem, I was hoping that the title would take us to a place like that. And so in some ways it was satisfying just for that reason as well. But such a beautiful poem, such a thoughtful poem. Thank you for that. Our next winning poet is a 9th grader at Edmund Burke School. Please welcome Natalie Weiss.
This is Romeo and Juliet. It is thought that love brings the greatest happiness, but the line between euphoria and despair is very thin. Destiny can be tragic but cannot be averted. Star-crossed love burns bright but dies cruelly. Attraction is mistaken for attachment, lust confused with love, and a fling with forever. The fantasy ends, left with only the ashes, and reality becomes a hell that torments. When the last spark of light disappears, would you drink poison, stab yourself? When the promises made are forever unfulfilled, would you wish to feel absolutely nothing? 4 days is not forever. Who knows what would have been if they only had more time? Was it love or infatuation? They died because they could not see the difference between the allure of the forbidden and real love. Their tragedy is that they were forced to choose too soon.
Thank you, Natalie. I agree. That was the tragedy. Well, there were tragedies upon tragedies, but that was the tragedy, yes. All right. Maybe we're about halfway through. We have Another poem to hear now, The Words I Wish I Said. And the winning poet is Vivian Kosis, a ninth grader at the Field School. Welcome, Vivian.
This poem is for my Grandma Wells. Just one more, I love you. One more chance for your weak, cold arms to wrap around my limp body. You tried to distract me, make me forget you were leaving soon. Even at your worst, you made the moment special. Baking cookies, kneading the dough over and over with your shaky hands. It's better to do standing, you told me, trying to swallow your tears. Playing Wii bowling, trying to convince us you used to be better when you played on a team. Your name, the jersey now sits in my closet, your name embroidered on the right breast, a bowling patch on the left, yellow and wrinkled, waiting to be worn. I tried to braid your hair, but it was too short after you cut it. My fingers ran across your head, wondering where the rest had gone. You told me it was just a new hairstyle. A smile stretched across my face as I chuckled. I told you the barber did a bad job. Why on earth would someone cut their hair like that? I thought to myself. You laughed along. It started to fall out because of chemo, but you didn't want me to know that. Cutting it was faster, less painful, for you and for me. You faked the smile, pretended. You didn't want me to see you as weak, boring, sick. Mom called and told me you left. Pain ended. You would be happier, she told me. I knew you were gone, but it didn't hit me you would never come back. The pain stung, ached, burned. It was an unfamiliar feeling, an ever unsettling feeling. They tell you it leaves, the grief, but they forget to tell you about the guilt. I could have called, hugged you tighter, cried more tears, been kinder. I wish I could tell you just one more time just how much I love you, the words I wish I said.
Thank you, Vivian. That's the art of poetry, transmuting this loss, this pain, into such beauty. So thank you for sharing those poignant words, all of the words. Thank you. Our next winning poet is Sean Quigley, a 10th grader at Parkmont School. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Lime green. The sparkling can of Sprite is sizzling so loudly. Cotton candy grapes don't have cotton candy filling. Green M&Ms are clean chocolate beans for jeans. Lime key pies can make an appetite gracious. Granny Smith apples all belong to Granny Smith. Turnals tend to be terps while in the state of Maryland. Iguanas want to wear pajamas and grow beards. Chameleons become colorblind with their camouflage. Snakes slither just like Flash, who's the world's slowest sloth. Frogs leap to Sweet Frog to enjoy free frozen yogurt. Water lilies and tiger lilies both love their pretty appearance. Summer leaves stay on trees until they change color and then fall off. Cactuses out in the deserts can be sharp as a COVID vaccine. Fresh grass spread out for hangry horses to munch on. You can use Glozell's green lipstick to become a queen bee. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, another ode to lime green, and I feel like there were some little inside references there. I was trying to pick, there are several lines I like. I was just gonna pick some of them, but let me just say, this might be, I could be wrong, but this might be the first time I've seen hangry in a poem, so good for you working hangry into your poem. All right. But that was enjoyable. Thank you for sharing it. And congratulations. Our next winning poet is Tara Opkins, an 8th grader at Capitol Hill Day School. Welcome, Tara.
Snakes come from many different places. When you think about it, they're just tails with faces.
Okay. I will not argue with that. Well, what is that? The snake that eats its own tail? What's that called? I forgot. The word just escaped me. But in any case, all right. I digress. What else can I say? I mean, you said it. So thank you for that. Our next winning poem is by Michael Chase, an 8th grader at Charles Hart Middle School. Not quite sure if Michael's here. Michael's not here. Okay. But there might be a reader. Okay.
I'm Kaden, and I'm reading for Michael. Let it be love, a book full of relationships, a stairwell of hope, a chimney for bravery, a attic full of ghosts, a basement filled with roaches. Scrape me with your kiss. This is the blueprint of our sketchy love. People are coming with a pile of erasers.
I wanted to announce your name, but thank you for reading that. Okay, I just have to say, those last two lines. Those last two lines. All right, our next winning poet, Victor Hall. Victor Hall is an 8th grader at Georgetown Day School. Victor's winning poem is Ode to Dumplings. Please welcome Victor.
Ode to dumplings. Dumplings, little packets of satisfaction and joy, bathed in a salt in a bowl with the salty sauce of soy. Clouds that contain chicken and cilantro of jade. When eating you, my happiness will never fade. Dumplings, laughing as you boil in a pot. The amount of sweetness that you hold is a lot. As you cook, your smell steams a savory scent. To my tongue, your taste is lent. Dumplings, you look like white fluffy snowballs. You are a common favorite food in malls. Your skin is a blanket warming, you're delicious inside, riding down into my stomach on a slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. I can appreciate a poem about dumplings because I love dumplings. Now you made me want to go get some dumplings. Oh, man. Any case, thank you for that. Little packets of satisfaction and joy. All right. I'll be thinking about that next time I eat dumplings, possibly this evening. Okay. Our next winning poem is by Aaron Attaway, a 10th grader at Richard Wright Public Charter School. Aaron is not able to read the poem today, but Aaron's English teacher, Ms. Lindsay Laster, will read the poem.
Truth was a scolding sun, and lies were the chilled alleys. You can melt from the heat, or you can hide in the corners of the dark, lurking, waiting, creeping, waiting on them. They don't want the truth, the unfiltered, the raw, the reckoning it could bring, the lights it would shine on the dark hidden lies that was swept in the corners of the musty room and between the cracks of their fractured mask. Truth is the expiration date on the long spoiled ingredients of a half-baked lie, fed to fill the belly of a sickly green beast. They would rather a comfort, a blanket, a shield, the feeling of successful avoidance, and its welcoming embrace to those who will never deny it. Let it wash away the stains of those with the red-stained hands and silence the deafening guilt racking their heads clawing at the walls of their brain, screeching echoes of pain yells that'll never matter much when you've mastered shutting it out, making it invisible, muted, distant, ghostly. Lies were the cool drink or hot tea that wet the tongue and soothed the throat of a shaded green beast, masked by a shiny exterior, blinding the world and its ever-seeing eyes to see the truth. Lies were easy pills to swallow because they came how you liked, chewable or crushable. You could swallow them whole. The beast was well accustomed to that. Why shouldn't they be? That's how they capture their prey.
Thank you, Ms. Laster, and please give Aaron our congratulations for such a powerful poem. Our next winning poet, Meraki Wasan, is a 7th grader at Parkmont School. Please welcome Meraki.
My poem is titled Fikir La Agere, which translates into English for love for my country. Today I will write a poem about utopia. It will not be a list of wars in this dystopia. It will not be a list of loved ones I've lost. It will not be a list of the unfortunate people on the streets, but rather about the culture. The spicy smell of dorowat lingers in my nose and onto my clothes, or the pungent smell of shunkort and itan while walking out the house, but rather the way we ignore the itchiness of our colorful abishak emis dusted with gold and white as we run fashionably late to the big event, but rather the presence of my family. How last summer we laughed together as we failed to be quiet at 4 a.m, as we danced Exista and Guraganya as people slapped money on our foreheads, but rather the smell of the really strong bunna coming from the jebena while hearing the popcorn kernels pop, and the chatter of voices talking and having a good time, but rather how the crickets chirp in the dark like my country is wishing me a good night.
Thank you, Meraki, for that. Again, that's a kind of ode as well, you know, one in which you are celebrating your culture. And so I appreciate those references to things that are familiar to me and also not so familiar to me. So congratulations on a beautiful poem. And, okay. And keep writing, yes, keep sharing. All right, so we have another winning poem, How to Paint the American Flag. Its author, Naveen Desai, is an 11th grader at Georgetown Day School. Naveen is not able to be here, so Kim will graciously read the poem.
Just want to double check that Naveen did not come in. No? Okay. I will try very hard to do this wonderful poem justice. How to Paint the American Flag. 1. Splatter red onto the canvas. Need not fear if you don't have paint. Blood will do just fine. Select a place to collect a sample. Yes, Uvalde. It will be fresh, flowing from 4th grade bodies, pinned to incarnadine carpets with 45 millimeter bullets they learned will pierce beating hearts. Before American indolence, on your way out, see drawings of families dancing under moonlight, sky plastered with crayon dots and crimson stars. See posters titled, "When I Grow Up, I Hope to Be," buried beneath lifeless dreams, larger than the bodies you must hurdle. 2, add blue. But make sure it's vibrant, like sapphire, like choking throats, knees on necks, blocking justice from touching George, Eric, Brianna, Ahmaud. Melanated skin, collect the tears of a weeping movement that it took death to ignite. Make sure the blue gushes like poison, swimming in Flint waters, down household taps, through human veins to dying lungs, hardly breathing American air. They say it saves money to imperil Black life. 3, pour white from above. Watch it drip slowly, suffocating colors, overpowering until all is drowned. 4, now admire your art. Take your time. Remember carefully, red is for valor. Blue is for justice. White is for innocence. Place your hand on your pulsing heart and shout, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America."
Again, another powerful poem about social justice. So congratulations to Naveen. And I hope Naveen continues to write such powerful work. Our next winning poem is by Michael McKnight, a 12th grader at Gonzaga College High School, "The Whisperer at My Door." Michael is not able to be here to read the poem, so we have asked his fellow Gonzaga winner, Hector Reyes, to come and read the poem.
The whisperer at my door. Who knocks at my door when all hope is lost? Oh, is it you, reaper, whisperer of the night? When night falls, you become my friend. When the sun lays waste, you become my protector. When it's my time to ascend to the heavens, you become my guide. Your blade as sharp as tungsten needles, your aura as dark as the midnight sky, the warmth of your hands as warm as cold night. Your darkness beats louder than a body's beating heart. Flowers sink in the presence of your smiles. Eyes rolls in the absence your growls. Your scold face sings melodies stronger than the midnight blues. I tremble in joy, waiting for the good news. When I hear the knock at my door, I look at the shallow shell and I say to myself, who knocks at my door? Oh whisperer, oh reaper. I've come to accept your crimson love and hear your darkened roar. I praise you as the one I seek, the whisperer at my door.
Okay, that's an interesting and poignant poem. Makes me think of Poe for some reason, Edgar Allan Poe. All right, but there's some vibrancy there to the Reaper. So I'll leave it at that. So interesting poem to ponder. And congratulations to Michael. Okay, our next winning poem is by Priya Grab, who is an 11th grader at Georgetown Day School. Please welcome Priya.
Insights I have learned so far. My mind will wander to lands my feet will never touch, and I'll sleep with one eye open waiting for death, his presence lurking behind every corner I turn. Change will come and go and is, as everyone says, the only constant. I wasted too much time here. Regret begs with me, pleads with me. Why did you wait for death and forget to live? The slow burn of a lingering fire, fighting with all its will to maintain its flame, only finding peace in death. My grandfather calls for his mother in his sleep. In a foreign land and alone with the night. Life is always changing, my grandmother says of this. He remains his observant self, but more so in his sleep. He taught me insights he has learned so far. Life is suffering, and that cannot change, and it must not defeat us or define us. No matter what, it goes by too fast. You call again for your mother, an ocean away and long gone. You're so forgetful these days. In a foreign land that remains a foreign place 50 years later and still alone. The slow burn of a lingering fire, your feet stuck in mud and eyes looking up to heaven, you call for your mother there, fighting with all your will to maintain your flame. Will you find your peace?
Thank you, Priya. Again, what a poignant and sobering poem, elegiac poem, a beautiful poem. And as I was listening to it, it also made me kind of think a little bit more about Michael's poem, The Whisper at My Door. So thank you for that. And thank you all for your insights about the big topics, right, of poetry, including death. Our next winning poet, Ahana Rao, is a 6th grader at Sidwell Friends School. Ahana's poem, Challenges of Being Indian American.
In the middle of a game of tug-of-war, I am the rope. Too Indian to be American, too American to be Indian. I attempt to navigate this strange identity I own, for there nor here feels like home. So I begin to write this poem about the challenges of being Indian American. One side of the rope has senseless stereotypes on how I'm supposed to be. One perfect math prodigy. The other side is 7,000 miles away, New Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bombay. And so I wonder how I must convey the challenges of being Indian American. Both sides of the rope reel me in, garble, twist, contort, spin. They leave me trapped within the undying need of fitting in. I'm a sari, a shopping spree, chai tea, the American dream. I have pride in my heritage and tradition, a love for my culture, cuisine, and religion. I deal with the struggles, hardship, misfortune, and dismay. I must deal with the adversity each and every day. And this is how I best explain the challenges of being Indian American.
Thank you, Ahana. And again, we find in poetry, we find ways to deal with these adversities, these struggles, and to transmute them into beautiful art. So continue to write your work, continue to share those important thoughts and feelings. Our next winning poet, Macias Zito, is a 9th grader at Parkmont School. Please welcome Macias.
Runaway. As the trees grew older and died like flames, as the smell of gas crept everywhere, as the cars raced around me, I found myself stuck in a shell. As the bitter cold slipped around through my coat, I was stuck in the middle of the highway. The cars were like daggers, not stopping for anyone, as I thought about how good it would be to go back to warmth and to have enough to eat every day.
Thank you, Macias. So it's interesting when we think about lyric poems, those poems that deal with those meditative moments of the poet's feelings and thoughts, and sometimes they're about awe and wonder at life, and sometimes they're about the practicalities of being safe. So thank you for that perspective. Our next winning poet is Theo Johnson. Theo is a 12th grader at St. Albans School. Please welcome Theo. Okay, apparently Theo is not here. Is there anyone from St. Albans School who might read? Did you line up a reader?
Sorry, we weren't prepared. We were expecting Theo. A Circus Peanut Factory. Inspired by, and forgive, I'll do my best, muse inquietanti, poet and artist, and L'incertitude du poète by Giorgio di Chirico. 1. This is not the Vatican. This is not the Pope watching long black shadows push firmly their parallel lines into the hardwood, squeezing until black, until orange juices spill and oversaturate the world. This weeping woman, seated atop a blue workbench, is not, in fact, sad. Her shoulders shrug and stretch with slow, rounding turns as her arm twists and scrunches on her head with a gaping mouth. This weeping woman curled over, wafting in the damp orange wood, has placed her paper-thin shovel beside her plump knee, waiting for night, peering behind her back to crest the soft mounds of her shoulder and climb into the sky, so that this day will end and the shadows will creep back into their columns and recollect their bodies, unsqueezing the damp planks, their orange sponges sucking in the excess left unshoveled at day. And the not Pope will call out into the darkness towards the smokestacks of the not Vatican and say, 2. Listen over, through the window where the night sweeps the yellow out of the sky. Listen, cloaked man, the day has ended. Smack the table and crack the peanut in your hand. And naked man, pull the lever stitched into the cube to activate the array of wooden rulers caught up in a knot, bolted into the floor, crunching and cracking, clicking like a cricket. Pull the lever down enough that the constellation of rulers goes still, silent. Save the eek of snapping wood. And stretched until bending. Cloaked man, await the flutter of a peanut, jumping through the web of rulers, tapping its way to your hand. Catch it under your palm. Do not crush it. Funnel the other crushed peanut into the lips of the woman's head on the floor. Naked man, imagine the peanut under the palm. Is it not crushed? What does it smell like? Taste it in your mouth. Let it stab a splinter in your tongue. Do you taste blood? Good. Listen, cloaked man, take the peanut from beneath your palm. Do not look at the naked man. What color is his skin? Is it rough or soft? Is his face questioning like yours? Is his skin orange? Good. Naked man, look at the peanut. Is the peanut orange? Good. 3. Both of you, look through the other window, the one with the arches filled with black, bursting out, spilling into shadows. But the right is closing in, dusk is sopping up the shadows. The train will chug across the rest of the horizon, zipping up the daylight, trapping in the night. The woman digests the crushed peanut in her grumbling and folding stomach. An owl waits for her to finish. The magnitude of the bananas shocks the night, the yellow and green pile, ripe with life and taste. The bananas slice shadows like the crescent-shaped blade of a knife. Let the peanut take shape in your mouth, float in the blood on your tongue. The sweet shadows cast by the bananas fold over the insides of your cheeks, diluting your mouth with orange. Cloak yourself in this, become naked in it. Night pours into the not Vatican, glazing the weeping woman and the not Pope in shining silence. Orange smoke begins to roll from the towers, the plumes like a million peanuts jumbling in the sky. And just before the sweeping silhouette of the weeping woman's shoulder fades into the night, through her gaping nose flows the fresh, sweet scent of the bananas.
Okay. Thank you for the reading, Kim, and congratulations to Theo. That was quite a poem. I love ekphrastic poetry, the poetry that deals with works of art. It was an ancient practice of rhetoric for artists to work on their skills of description. So as I was listening, I was trying to picture these works. I was trying to picture these paintings, right? So a sense of the surreal happening there as well. So anyway, I'm quite impressed by Theo's control throughout this poem in bringing all of these works together. Our next winning poet is another Theo, but Theo Kramer. Theo Kramer is a 6th grader at Parkmont School. Please welcome him.
8 ways of looking at a tiny plastic baby. 1. Like a statue, it does not move, mourning the loss of its plastic toy dog. 2. Like a sheep newly shaved, naked, it runs away in fear. 3. Tiny and fragile, a spider easily crushed by life. 4. It does endless headstands to calm the monster inside. 5. Is it as innocent as it seems? Does its smile hide something sinister? 6. Plump little cheeks on its plump little face, calling it to pinch them. 7. Finally it rests, loving the life it has led. 8. Little belly won't move at all.
Well done, Theo. Thank you for that poem. And I have a tiny plastic baby in my closet that I'll probably look at differently from now on. All right, so our next winning poet is Armani Thornton, a 12th grader at Ballou Senior High School. Please welcome Armani.
All that makes me. Who are you? I am no one who enjoys being alive. Those who question my past don't believe my present, yet hate to realize that I empathize what I sympathize in my large-sized brain. Growth presents itself when you fall. Get up and jump back into your high horse. But I could never be where I am today without my previous eras. I am a queen of gender-neutral I am the queen of gender-neutral fit making. I am the king of confusing people with my ability to defy stereotypes. And I wouldn't want it any other way, would you?
Thank you, Armani. And no, I would not want it any other way. And thank you for your poetry that conveys all of you. Our next winning poet, Naomi Netter, is a 6th grader at Georgetown Day School. Please welcome Naomi.
What once was a crystal lake, serenely flowing, the reflection of yellows and pinks adding to its ethereal appearance, has been reduced to a crater. Filled to the brim is a makeshift mountain range out of bottles, bags, and straws. Would have seemed so creative if it weren't so deadly. We have reduced the world to a black smudge. Where once stood a lush, idyllic forest, where birds couldn't even fly high enough to surpass the towering oaks, has been demolished. Their nests, now non-existent, offer no protection to triplets, tweeting sadly from a hole in the ground, not nearly as deep as the one in their hearts. We have reduced the world to a black smudge. Where meadows once flourished, a sun-kissed land of heaven long ago has crumbled into the cracked and ashy ground. Like growing up, watching your once lively and vivacious spirit turn into a feeble and withered corpse that lives today. No light can get past the thick, gray clouds sticking to the sky like glue. We have reduced the world to a black smudge. As greasy sludge pours its way into the ocean, a sea turtle takes one last look at the water. Unable to see her own flippers, how will she find the air close above, with the sea as black as a midnight, without the moon? We have reduced this world to a black smudge. What once looks like a gemstone suspended by the strings of hope, bravery, remembrance, gratitude, truth, and love, now blends into the shadows in the dusky gray light, aimlessly spinning by only one string, hope, because we still have it. However, a nation cannot reside on only one string. To work together to build up that string is to heal that wound and add a little color to that smudge.
Thank you, Naomi. It's good for poets to remind us what we're doing, not only in the world, but to the world, to the planet, and hopefully getting us to change our ways. So yes, we will add some more color. You will add some more color, as you have with your work. Our next winning poet, Miriam Rose, is a 10th grader at Parkmont School, reading The Colors of Life. Please welcome Miriam.
The colors of life. I've cut off a chicken's head and afterward covered it with a bowl to prevent blood splatter and the chicken from moving around. I was 6 when I was kidnapped, stuck in a small shack in Ethiopia where I didn't cry tears but cried out for help as 2 grown men held me captive seeking money. I've watched a chicken bring life into this world on my grandma's bed, cluttered and twirling, with bottles of perfumes and bags, cats, a dog, chickens, and even bunnies. They would curl up and rest a day away in a bed filled with love and life's sigh. I've seen my grandma kill a roach with her bare hands, not showcasing a bit of fear. It's a daily thing to do. I've seen my grandma's cat electrocuted. Flies swarmed it for weeks. I've watched cows and sheep slaughtered. I've danced in the rain and run around. I've hopped on different rocks to avoid having my clean shoes get dirty. I've felt my hair soak and water slowly drench my flowy dress, glittering a gloomy day with a happy feeling. I've cried and laughed in the same minute. I've laid motionless and still, willed my eyes to remain closed. A stabbing pain invades my mind as my mom put an onion in my sock and a clove of garlic in my ear, hoping to ease my migraine. I was 12 when I held a squirrel my neighbors caught, and then cried because my cousin said, "What if it had rabies?" I threw away my clothes in fear of sickness, in fear of my cousin's taunts, and catching the squirrel's rabies. Life unfolds in unexpected ways, experiences that have shaped my soul, from the fear of a kidnapper's grasp to the joy of a rainy day. My memories are the threads that make me a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Again, a powerful poem, a poem about resilience, memory and resilience. So thank you, and I congratulate you and urge you to continue your writing. All right, we're going to circle back now to the first poem in the booklet by the winning poet Truss Stevens. Truss is an 8th grader at Charles Hart Middle School. Please welcome Truss.
Perceptions, a star looks like a bunch of furs dancing in the sky. A bell's wow tastes like honey and wolf meat. A baby's cry like a vanishing mirage. Whenever I look at you, I hear a heartbeat. Be so fast it might pop out. Every time I bite an apple, I see an orchard full of green and red apples. A new idea, like someone building a new house over an old one.
Thank you, Truss, for that poem of perceptions, poets need to be able to see with fresh eyes, and your poem gives us that. So congratulations. We've come now to our final winning poem. The winning poet is Maria Harb, a 9th grader at St. John's College High School. Please welcome Maria. Oh, we'll see Maria on the screen.
Dear writing, I do not remember the first word I wrote, the first word I learned, the first word I spoke. But I do know the characters that ran as my words flew on my paper, the words that meant more, the words that spoke more. The silly stories, the terrible stories, the meaningful stories, I love them all. They carried me on closer, closer so that I could taste my dream. It tastes sweet like honey, strong like wine, yet delicate so I don't get drunk. It tastes unique and pure, pure like the water racing down my cheeks as my smile widens, wider and wider until my face hurts. Yet I still do not remember the first word I wrote, the first word I learned, and the first word I spoke. But I do know that I love you. Hold me tight. Don't you ever let me go. See you on my paper, Maria Harp.
Good morning, Zion, and welcome for...
Okay, wonderful poem, a wonderful way to wrap up our winning readers' poetry performances today. Thanks to Maria Harb and to all of you for continuing to write, for writing, honoring it, and honoring yourselves and your communities through your poetry. So let's give the poets another round of applause. And finally, for a few closing remarks, I'd like to now welcome to the microphone a finalist judge for this festival, Patrick Washington.
How's everybody doing? I'm very happy to be here. Let's give everybody a hand once more because they were terrific. They made it look easy, right? But believe me, none of this is easy. Slicing off just a little bit of time from your day to muse and ponder and reflect on the world around you. And then you want to take some more time to search for and arrange the words and put them in the right place and kind of express these ideas. And then you're expected to stand up in front of all these people, gamble on your ego, put your self-esteem in harm's way, and come up here before hundreds of friendly yet expectant faces to read your poem. So thank you, all of you. My love for poetry was planted as a child through simple things, like nursery rhymes, the silliness of Dr. Seuss tales, but it was the energy and the depth of hip-hop that pulled me in. And this goes beyond the explosive, colorful murals or the mind-bending physical feats. For me, it was the MCs. Y'all know what MCs mean? MC? Master of Ceremonies. That's what we have here. Master of Ceremony, the storytellers, the griots, the correspondents who are reporting live the world as they see it. Now, some of my favorite MCs have names like Rakim, Mos Def, Andre 3000, Nas. But I'm going to submit to you today that some of my new favorite MCs may have different names now. Maybe like MC Ben, perhaps MC Priya, MC Crystal, MC Jalen. I want you to understand that when you claim a space, make it your own and tell your story, then you are the MC no matter where you are. So I want you to claim that title, own your space, and remember that with every step you take, a poem is happening. It's just up to you to capture it, right? So that is the job of a true MC. And I'm going to deliver just a quick memory for you. This is a true story. There is something dangling from my glasses. Okay, there we go. This is a true story. When I was 13 years old, my best friend in the entire world was a stringy-haired strawberry blonde with sun-kissed freckles. His name was Scott Hicks, and we were Army brats living in Okinawa, Japan. The summer of 1983, I don't think my parents saw me at all. I must have slept over Scott's house every night. It was the first place I had ever tasted Cap'n Crunch. The first place I had ever heard the word supper. The first time a white person ever held my hand in prayer, ever addressed me, and I didn't feel a knot. It's where I discovered hair feathering was a thing. The only time I ever hid from the police, Scott was right next to me. It began with a misunderstanding at a midnight arcade, and somehow we both knew that no matter how innocent our sweet, buttery Cap'n Crunch breath may have been, our age and my shade had already convicted us. So we looked at each other and we ran. Like Fred and Barney. Lion-O and Panthro, Johnny Quest and Haji. I never felt like the sidekick, although whenever we flipped a coin for head-to-head football, he always got the quarterback. I thought it was just luck. But we didn't know the rules yet, so we just played until we figured it out. He was supposed to like Phoebe Cates, and I was supposed to be in love with Kim Fields. He got his pick of the white solid gold dancers, and I got Darcel. We were preteen boys, snickering to Eddie Murphy, cussing up a red leather storm, hitting freeze frame whenever mama came into the room. Scott Hicks gave me my very first of 1 million listens to Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. And I gave him his first listen to DeBarge's I Like It. I should have picked up on when his father heard it and drawled, well, I hate it. Months later, when my father received orders to return to the States, Luke Skywalker and Han Solo looked at each other like, I got a bad feeling about this. It's been 35 years, and we've never spoken since. I wonder what America has taught us since then. Thank you.
Oh, Patrick, thank you so much. I can only imagine how moved young writers must be by those words, surely as moved as I am. It's late, and I just want to say a couple of things. Look, we heard grief and mourning and rage and protest and memory and whimsy and every color in between. Here's what I know. We have got to keep these portals of encouragement and opportunity open to young writers. So here's the thing. Two of Parkmont's stalwart supporters of this festival have offered a matching grant that will double your contribution to the Parkmont Poetry Festival all the way up to and including $10,000. We accept credit cards, checks, PayPal, cash. Lots of QR codes around registration and at our reception. Please, won't you join me in making sure that poets like Amy keep writing of the experiences that shape their souls, that the Maria Harbs out there keep up a conversation with their writing so that they might taste their dreams? I hope you will. I've promised a really quick final word to our head of school, Ron McLean, and our dean of students, Neoli Gadudis. Ron's right over there. He's standing up here. We thank you, Ron. It's all yours. Please stay for the party. Come downstairs. You can go right out this way and down the elevator if you wish, or down the stairs. Have some poetry punch. It's a long-standing tradition. Thank you, poets, parents, teachers, judge, friends.